In today's video, we're going to look at a form which is a variation of the form that we've been working with in video 19. So the form that I want to draw today initially to get you started is this form. It's basically, if you can see that, a sort of elongated lemniscate. It has a rounded end and a rounded end and a bind in the middle. And you can obviously work on creating this so it becomes harmonious. So the bind is equally long. So the two bits in the bind are equally long. So this is one continuous flowing line that you should be working with. And I strongly suggest that you practice this shape before maybe going on to trying your hand out at the development that I'll show you next. So this is the shape that you should practice. Now the next shape is drawn in two separate lines. So we're finishing one form and then we're lifting our crayon or our graphite in this case and creating the new form. So we start off with a rounded form at the top, going into a little valley and then creating a hill, and then diagonally across, and then a valley and a hill, and then a diagonally across, and then you've got to make sure you come up quite far before you go back down to create a little valley, and then diagonally up into a hill and a little dip into a valley before we then meet up with the line that we created. So this is the form that you should be working on. This is important that this line here that goes down, the diagonal line that goes down, doesn't become turning down, it doesn't become too diagonal, or it doesn't kind of come down too far this way. It's better that it's sort of slightly leaning towards the horizontal than the vertical, and I'll show you why now. So we've drawn our shape here with one continuous line, and now we're going to finish this form with a new line, and we're starting the new line. The intersecting line comes in here. So we start off by intersecting in a band and continue to create another band, and then we rise out and we mirror this form here. We mirror that, coming down here and creating another bind, and then we go down the way, creating another bind here, and then we're finishing up here. So here you can see we've got 4 binds, and obviously, like any of the exercises, you can go over your line. Once you've kind of managed to get into the right form and you've got all your binds, you can go round your form again, adjusting the line as you go. If you feel something's got not deep enough or not high enough, so my valley, it was too the top here was too close to this valley, so I'm adjusting it, and then I'm going around. And then of course the same with the intersecting line here. So I might feel, oh well, that got a bit too kind of round, so I'll do it like this, come down, adjust it a little bit and go round. So this is the shape that you should be trying to create. This is not a beginner's form drawing, I would say. I would say this is definitely an intermediary sort of form drawing exercise. The thing that you can do if you find this really difficult is you can actually draw little help lines. Now, previously when we've drawn help lines, I've drawn kind of long lines, and you could do that as well, but actually I find that if you draw a little help line where each of your binds are supposed to be, then that's more helpful. So you would draw, in order to do that, you would draw a line, and then a little distance apart from that, you would draw another line, and then at the side here, you'd have another line, and the same that mirrors over here, another line. And that way you can have the lines where your binds are supposed to be, to give you a kind of guide as to where you're supposed to be going. So we start off here above, sort of a little bit to the side and above our first line. You create a sort of half circle, and then you're coming down from below and going up through your line. I've actually made it a bit, maybe a bit too large here, but you go through that line, come down diagonally, and then you go from below and up through your line, and then you come down here and you rise up, and you come from above your line and go below your line. Then you rise up and you come from above and go below your line and back. So here, as you can see, this is maybe not quite right. Maybe this line should have been a bit higher, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. So here I'm coming in with my intersecting line, and here I know I need to come from above and go below this line to create my next bind, and then back out. And here I'm creating another bind, falling below, coming above into my bind and down, and then I'm finishing off. So here you have the same sort of look. Now obviously I would suggest in this scenario, so here my binds have got very bulbous, very rounded, whereas my binds always tend to get a bit flat and narrow anyway. So here I would maybe suggest, you know, you go, okay, so I would take it down a little bit, but now you have your line that you can go over. You've got the correct line, so then you can start adjusting it, moving the line to a place where you feel this is better, because really this line here, as you can see here in this one I did freehand, this line here, the top of the form I've drawn, and the top, the mirroring side here, is actually above the bind. The bind should be sort of sitting in between, just like it does here. So, you know, you've got your top here and your top here, and this is sort of halfway into that form, which it wasn't really here. Here it was much more kind of in line with, and this should be higher than the bind here. So here I'm adjusting the form and coming round and going down, and this could be, definitely could be more rounded as well. And then you're going round, and then same when I'm coming back the way. So I'm making sure that my form here rises above the bind part, coming down and then creating that bind, coming down here and creating the last bind, and then going round here. So here, you know, you have to lift your crayon or drawing implement in order to get to the form that you want to draw. The next form that I want to show you has not 4 binds, but actually has 7 binds, and we're going to draw it in one continuous line. It's a little bit similar. Here we're going down the way though, as you can see, and then we're coming up and we're actually mirroring the line that we've just drawn. And then we're creating the first bind, and then here we're creating a mirror to the line here that we started going down with. I'll maybe talk you through this once I've drawn it to make it a little bit more clear what's going on. So this is the form. As you can see, it has 7 binds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 binds. And it's one long continuous line that we've drawn it in. So you start off with your sort of half circle here, going into a valley, coming up into a hill, and then you have your diagonal going down into a valley, coming up into a little hill, going down diagonally into a valley, and then coming up into a little rolling round hill. That's sort of, instead, as you'll remember in the one with the 4 binds, we went around and up the way that way, but now we're continuing down the way. We're going down the way instead, and then we've got our diagonal rising here, mirroring this diagonal here into a hill, and then into a valley, and then diagonal up into a hill and into a valley, rounding up into the first bind that we actually create, and then a valley, first a hill and then a valley, and then a diagonal, and then into a hill here, and then into a valley, and then we're rising up and coming round. And here it's important, when you're creating this shape here, that you sort of hold your drawing implement so you can see how far out you need to come, because it needs to be roughly the same sort of width as the bottom one. And then you're going round and up into a little hill, diagonally down into a valley, and then up into a hill, diagonally down into a valley, up into a hill, and then you're coming round and then up into a hill, and then into a valley, diagonally up into a hill, then into a valley, and going round and into a valley, and up into a hill, and into a valley, and then you're back at the top. So this is difficult to draw freehand. When you start trying to draw this, you'll probably find it hard. What I'll do is I'll just show you, because I think that that's helpful. I'll just show you with the blue falling down. We're following the line as it's falling down with the blue crayon, so that you can see this is the first part of the form that we're drawing, which is the part that's going down the way. Just trying to get it really clear with the blue so you can see it in the video. So here we have the blue. Then actually I'm going to switch over to the red crayon, because this line has a rising quality. See here how it rises up with the diagonal into a hill. Okay, so it falls down into a valley, but it continues to rise up to a hill, into a valley, and continues to rise up, rounding and rising up here, still rising, and now we're at the top. So here, using the red just to illustrate that. There we go. So as the line now starts falling, I'm switching back over to the blue. And here, I hope you can see, I hope it's sort of clear that the this line here mirrors this line here. So we now have one red line that's rising from here to here. And now I'm going to show the line that mirrors that. So this red line here is the one that it both intersects and mirrors. But it intersects and mirrors both the red and the blue. So in previous videos I've shown the red being sort of the intersecting, but in this video it's slightly different, just because I think this way it's maybe slightly easier to understand in this particular form if we do it this way. So I hope you can see that and understand that. Hope it's not confusing. So that's how you can work with the form. Now, with this form, like the form that had just the 4 binds, we can also use the lines. So if you're going to use the lines, then we do as we did previously. You draw first a line. We'll do the 3 binds for the middle. So then you draw them a sort of good distance apart, but roughly the same distance apart. It doesn't have to be exact. Again, this is not an exact science. As you can see, my bind isn't completely harmonious. I could go over it and try and harmonize it and get it looking really nice. You know, this form here, this shape here is much larger than this shape here, so that I could easily go over it and adjust it. But now we're just looking at the lines here to try and show you how you can go over it and make it sort of easier for yourself to draw what it is you need to draw. And these lines are roughly in the middle of these 2 spaces here. So my line here, yeah, it's roughly in the middle, and my line here is sort of roughly in the middle. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure that this part of my form, the starting part of my form, is rising above the first line here, the top line, so that we get a nice kind of start. So I'm starting a little bit to the side of this form or this line. I'm starting a bit to the side, and I'm making sure I'm rising above this line. So we're starting off, we're going round, and then we're coming down from below, going up, and we're creating our valley, and then we're going up into our hill. I'm coming from below and going up through my line, and then creating a hill, going diagonally down. And again, as my line is falling, I'm always going from below and coming above. So here, I'm going from below, about halfway through my line, coming up into a little hill, and diagonally down, going from below and coming up. And then here I'm at the bottom, so I'm coming round, and here I want to start mirroring this diagonal with my line here. So I'm creating a diagonal, and now as I'm going up the way with my line, I'm coming from above and going down through my line. So I'm coming from above and going down through my line, and then diagonally up, and then from above going down through my line about halfway, and then I'm coming round, and then I'm going from above and coming down through my line, and then again rising from above and going down through my line, and then diagonally across and over. And here I want to check how far out am I. I am kind of not quite as far as the bottom bit, but I can adjust that. and here I'm coming from below and going above, and then diagonally down, and from below and going above, diagonally down from below and going above, creating my bind, coming round, diagonally from above, below, and then diagonally up, rise up, and then from above I'm going below the line, coming round, and here I'm coming from above and going down, and then diagonally up and coming from above and going below, and we're back. So as you can see, it's sort of, my binds are now kind of neatly organized under each other. And you might find when you try and draw it freehand that that's harder. So I would suggest you draw little kind of help lines like this to help you along. And then, you know, just go over your form. If you think, oh, my binds have got like really big, then you just go over them, make them slightly smaller if that's what you need to do. Or if they've got like really flat, then you create them slightly larger. So that's the form that I wanted to show you for this week. Form Drawing Friday is going to have a little summer holiday, and that means that for the next 4 weeks we're going to be offline with Form Drawing Friday. There might be a little video or two, but you know, you have lots and lots of time basically here to practice all the previous form drawing exercises. So if you're really good and you mastered this straight away, please throw me a comment, and then hopefully once Form Drawing Friday is back online in August, in the beginning of August, then I'll have more exercises from Kitsley's first workbook for you, ready for you to start working with. So have a really nice summer, and I'll see you again at the beginning of August.